Hey everyone, Nick here, and I'm back to talk about my mid-motor Bandit project. Now I know it's been quite a while since my last video on this car, and I really didn't plan it to be that way. It just kind of worked out that way. But now that we're here, there's a lot of stuff to go over. I've got new parts to talk about. I've got an entire season's worth of racing on carpet to talk about. I've got a recent race update to talk about with a video to show you guys of me driving it so you can see it on carpet and how it performs. And probably some other stuff that I'm forgetting about, but we'll get to. So yeah, enjoy. Alright, so the first thing to talk about is not that fun, and that was a huge mistake that I had made with the car and the way I ran it throughout most of the indoor carpet season. So in that last video, I showed you guys some parts that I had made that raised up these inner hinge pins on the rear and on the front. What those did is those raised the roll center of the car, and when you raise the roll center of the car, it resists rolling through the corner. So on a really high grip carpet track, right, as you go through a corner, you got a lot of cornering forces, and instead of being able to make the car roll, what those forces would do is it would just, make the car traction roll. And really the mistake that I made was not testing those parts back to back against the stock parts to see if they were really worth running. And it turns out they weren't worth running on indoor carpet. I'm going to save them for outdoor dirt because that's what I originally developed them for, and through the limited testing I did, they'll work great there. But I should have, tested them better on carpet, and I didn't, and so that was my mistake, and it made this car miserable to run, and it's the reason why I didn't do any update videos until now, because the car just felt terrible and I could not be fast with it. But when I made that change to the stock parts, it was like a whole different car, and I'm super happy, and I'm having fun with it again. So that's why there's an update now, and not like a couple months ago. So before I get too much further into this video, I do want to take a moment to thank a really huge contribution from someone who I guess has been following this project and using my files. He reached out to me at one point in the winter and asked if I was doing any files for the 272R differential that you get in the drag slash. And I was like, I don't know, I've been thinking about it, but maybe not. I was waffling, and he offered very generously to send me the differential so I could use it and make and release parts for it. And so I took him up on his offer, a little hesitantly, but I ended up accepting in the end. And really, thank you so much. If you're watching, I really do appreciate that. Just the generosity that you displayed in sending that to me means a lot. And the fact that you were willing to do that as a thank you for the work that I've done and published freely for this car, that someone would care that much about what I'm doing to send something like that to me, it really means a lot. It does. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you for sending that out. It really, like I said in the previous section, getting through this winter, it was a bit rough with some of what I was doing with the car, and that kind of helped push me to go further with it. So thank you. Alright, this next part of the video is all about new parts, so I'm going to rush through because there's a lot and I don't want this to take a lot of time. Starting on the front, I've got a new front sway bar holder, and pretty obvious, it holds the front sway bar, about bolts onto the top here. You're going to have to make your own sway bars, so you're going to have to find your own spring steel or piano wire and bend it yourself. That's what I did. And then I use these, I don't remember what part number or off of which car they come from, but these are a Traxxas sway bar links, so if you search for Traxxas sway bar links, these will pop up somewhere, and that's what they are. Speaking of sway bars, on the back here, I redesigned the rear camber link mount a little bit so I could use some collars on the sway bars, and that holds the sway bar in place so it doesn't wiggle left and right as the car does its thing. What else is new? Battery cradles and the side braces here are also new. So I used to have a couple different battery holding solutions depending on which transmission option you were using, and so I've redesigned it now so that you only need this side brace and these cradles, and that should work regardless of whatever transmission configuration you're using. What else? Oh, I finally figured out the reason that the rear arms would wiggle back and forth. That's, if you've been watching the channel for a while, that's a long time problem I've been having, and I finally figured out the real issue and the real solution. So the real issue is these M4 screws that you need to use with the Traxxas rear arm mounts. They have a bevel on them, and that bevel is so tall, it's the same thickness as the chassis, which means by the time you countersink a hole in the chassis for this screw, you've got just a knife edge's worth of material left to hold that screw in place. And obviously it's not going to hold up well over time. So on my car, these holes have wallowed out to about like 5.5 millimeters, and that lets the screws wobble around a whole lot, and that's why the arms were moving around a whole lot. I fixed that with a simple little plate that you can just bolt onto the chassis underneath the transmission. And what that does is it gives the screws an extra 2 millimeters of meat to hold them in place and keep them from wiggling around. And this has worked really well, especially in combination with the other parts that I've developed throughout the past videos. Speaking of the transmission, I redesigned the 5-gear transmission to use that 272R diff, and I also redesigned it to raise the diff height up a couple of millimeters so that when the car is at the really low ride heights we use at carpet, the arms, or not the arms, the drive shafts are straight. And that's an adjustment you see on modern race buggies, so I wanted to make sure I had it on here. I think that's about it. I know that was fast, but I think that covers it. All right, so even though I already touched on it a little bit in the first part of this video, right, we should talk about racing. And like I said, it was miserable with those wrong parts on the car, but once I got those figured out, the car was a lot better to drive. But that's not all there is to talk about, really. This was the first season running this car on carpet with carpet tires, and, you know, durability is an issue with these 3D printed parts. And, you know, from that standpoint, the indoor racing season was a pretty good success because I really didn't have any major issues with any of the printed parts. I did have some issues with the shock tower. The front shock tower, I broke a couple of those, but that was because I was only using 2.5 millimeter thick carbon fiber. I went out and I bought some 4 millimeter carbon fiber to make a thicker front shock tower, and I haven't broken a single one since doing that. So if you're making your own car, make sure you're using, you know, suitably thick material on your front shock towers, or you might break them. What else to talk about? Oh yeah, you know, I mentioned I finally solved the problem of the arms wiggling around, so that was also another nice improvement in durability. Because, you know, when you're racing on carpet with all that grip, you go a lot faster with all that extra grip. That's a lot of force on the car. It's really easy to break parts, and the fact that this held up as well as it did, pretty happy about. And then, so I'm going to cap this video off with a shot, or the video from me racing this car last night. It's the mod Buggy Main, and in it you'll see a pretty exciting battle with a couple other guys on the track. And you'll also see sort of the room for improvement that still exists with this car and with this setup. Keep in mind, I only had like 2 race nights with this car actually driving well, and so I still need to figure out how to get a little more steering and quarter speed out of the car. And I was lacking a little bit of corner speed, and the other guys weren't. So you'll see at times they'll just seem like they're making me stand still because they can just come up to me so fast with the corner speed that they have, versus where I feel like I have to really wait for the car to get through the corner before I can get back on throttle to get out of the corner, just because it had so much push. But I'll be able to solve that pretty easily, and so I'm not worried about that. But yeah, so enjoy the video. There's, like I said, a really exciting battle in it with me and 2 other drivers, so that's going to be fun to watch, so enjoy.
All right, we're going racing at the sound of the tongue, 6-minute Mach 2 Buggy Main. Here we go. And they're off.
No. At least I don't think he did.
All right, it's Matt, Braden, Gavin, Nick, Xander, Jeff, and Dan is out. Gavin, Braden got a close battle going on. There goes Braden, there goes Gavin. If my computer's not lying, Gavin Yoder had a lickety-split fast lap, second lap about 14.961. See if we can hold that down. Gavin's getting by a clean pass on Braden. Battle coming up on the backside of. Good move there, Braden. Thank you for waiting. That allows Nick to climb back into the hunt. And Gavin did do a little bit. Nick now knocking on the back door of Braden. Let's see if Gavin can ward them off. Jeff giving a little room. Thank you, Jeff. Now Braden coming up on the backside of that little battle. Now Nick, Matt Willard starting to just put pace on everybody. He's looking phenomenal out there. A little over halfway through. About 5 seconds between Braden and Gavin. 0.7 seconds. Now Xander into the 4 spot, taking away from Nick. Now Xander knocking on the back door of Braden. See how this pans out. Battle ensuing now. Xander looking to the inside of Braden.
Thanks, Jeff.
Now with Xander and Braden getting tangled, Nick moving into that 3 spot. Braden in the 4, Xander in the 5. Matt off the track ever so slightly. Gavin has that lead on Matt down to 10-5. It was 11-1.
Oh.
Oh, no, this is a fun battle right here, guys.
1 minute remaining.
Oh.
That's a battle for 3, 4, and 5 as we come through the left-hand side of the track. Some great racing going on. Xander going wide, Braden getting on the underside. There's a battle now with Braden and Nick through the center of the track.
You're good,
I'll get tangled up a little bit. 12 seconds remaining, 12 seconds remaining.
Alright, that pretty much wraps it up for this video. I did forget to mention earlier, but all of the new parts I talked about are up on printables, so if you want to grab those, you can do that. And even though I didn't have the best season racing this, it did turn around at the end, so I'm super excited to keep pushing this project further and further and to keep racing it. And as I do, you know, I'll keep you guys updated with videos, and I'll keep you guys updated with new parts if you want to make your own car. And, you know, we've got outdoor dirt here coming up in the Northeast pretty soon, so I'll be excited to get this car back out on dirt. I've got some new things I want to try and test with that, so I'm excited about that. But yeah, until then, you know, do all the usual YouTube things, like, comment, share, and subscribe. You know, thanks for watching. Thanks for following along if you've been following for a while. And goodbye until the next video.